Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode on J of All Trades. Today, I'm in my bathroom and you're looking at the tiling that I've just completed in my shower. And if you guys would like to see exactly how I tiled this, you can check out the video from a link in the description. But today I want to show you guys exactly how I'm going to grout this tile, and I want to show you guys some techniques, and hopefully this will help you to make it easier for you to grout your shower as well. The first thing you want to do is you want to start prepping everything before you grout. And here you can see that some tin set got into the grooves here and actually spilled out. And so I'm going to be using this knife here to just scrape that off, because you want the grout to sit inside of these grooves. Otherwise, you're going to see the color of the tin set and not the color of the grout, and that's going to look really off-putting. Once I scraped off all the tin set in between these grooves, I used the vacuum cleaner to go inside of the grooves and just vacuum out any debris or dust that is settled inside there. You want to make sure that you spend the time to vacuum between every single opening, because if there's any dust sitting there, when you grout, you're going to see a discoloration. For the next step, you're going to be using a sponge. Then you're going to soak this sponge really good inside a bucket of water. And what you want to do is you want to squeeze out all the excess water out of the sponge, because you're going to be using this sponge to wipe down all the tiles. You want to make sure that everything is nice and clean, so when you put your grout, nothing else will end up in between those grooves. The number one thing that'll probably be on top of these tiles, apart from dust, would be tin set. And you want to make sure that you remove all the tin set off the surface. Here you can see that everything has been prepped so that this tile can be grouted, and you'll even notice that there's a nice sheen on your tiles now. Having the tile cleaned like this too will also help you to see exactly where the grout is going, and that will give you a better finish. Now we're ready to mix some grout. This grout is Microtech Unsanded Floor and Wall Grout. It's supposed to be very strong and flexible. The color of this grout that I'll be mixing today is called Fresh Lily, and that's for anyone who wants to get the same color of grout. And this is a 10-pound box, but to be honest with you, I was able to do the entire shower and I didn't even use half of this. Now, unsanded grout is great for porcelain tile because it's really good for narrow grout lines, and it's less likely to actually scratch the delicate surface compared to sanded grout. So you'd want to use unsanded grout for porcelain tiles. It also has a smoother and stickier consistency, and that's going to give me a much neater finish. When you start out trying to mix this stuff, you don't want to really start out with too much. So I have about a third of this bucket filled with grout, and I'm just going to add a little bit of water, and I'm going to use my mixer and screw gun to start mixing this together. Now, once I start, I'm going to have a good idea of how much water I need to add to this, because the key to this is you want this grout to be the consistency of peanut butter. Keep that in mind, peanut butter. And you want to spend a few minutes mixing this really well. That will give it the great consistency that it needs so that it can spread really well. And as you can see, I'm just adding water as needed, and then I'll continue to mix. And once I keep mixing and mixing, it'll eventually get to the consistency that I need. And after a few minutes, here it is, guys. You see how it looks like peanut butter? That's perfect. You're gonna need a grout float. This one has square edges on one side, and on the other side you can see that this has a rounded edge. It's a rubber grout float, and it's great for porcelain tile. If you don't have much experience with the grout float, you can use a plastic knife like this to help you kind of spread out the grout. Then you can use the grout float to work all the grout into the grooves. You want to start out by using the edge of the float to just push the grout into the grooves, and just keep working it in there until it gets to the surface. When you first start out, you just want to get a feel of the float that you're using, and once you get a handle on exactly how it works, you can just go in 45-degree angles just like this, and that'll force the grout into the grooves. Apart from 45-degree angles in one direction, you can go in multiple directions and do whatever it takes to get that grout inside of the groove. Once you get a nice rhythm going, it's pretty straightforward. One of the most important things is just to make sure that you're not skipping any spots and that you're getting every single part of these lines. You're going to notice that the grout creates a haze on top of the tile, and it makes the tile look dull. But don't be worried about that. that can all be wiped out later. A few years ago, I remember the very first time that I grouted, I was really worried about the stuff being all over the tile, but once I realized it was easily wiped off with a wet sponge, everything was all set and good to go. So for those of you who are doing this for the first time, there's no need to worry, that's perfectly normal. You should wait about 15 to 30 minutes after applying grout before wiping off the excess. This allows the grout to start to set and harden. You'll want to fully soak this sponge and then squeeze out the excess water, and you're going to start to wipe in a circular motion. Wiping grout in a circular motion helps to prevent dragging grout from the grout lines, and it allows for a more even and complete wipe up of excess grout. This method ensures that a cleaner finish is done by removing the excess grout without disturbing the newly applied grout in the joints. You can even grout a section and then leave it to dry and then come back and wipe it down and then continue grouting afterwards. As long as you give it enough time to dry, you'll be able to come back and do a wipe down. You can even do a part of a wall, wipe it down, and then continue grouting another section. When I started doing the corners here, I noticed that the rounded edge of this float actually worked better than the square edge. So you can play around with different methods and see which one works better for you. Here again at these corners, I'm still using the rounded edge because I've actually tried the square edge and it wasn't really working out as good as the rounded edge. Hopefully this little tip makes it a little bit easier for you guys to do your corners out there. As you can see, it really does a good job of forcing the grout in between those grooves. You really want to maintain that circular motion as you're wiping the grout, but in these corners, you can't really avoid it. So what you want to do is you want to go very lightly and not put too much pressure to remove too much material there. When we started out, our tiles had no grout and they just looked like they weren't put together. And here we've completed the grout and this looks wonderful. The gray grout really pulls together all the gray in the tile and it just makes it look all like one. And I really hope that you guys learned some techniques and some pointers here that will help you to do your own grout. So please like and subscribe to my channel to continue to get more videos like this one. And I'll see you guys on the next one.